Well, in terms of living in different cities, even when we both lived in Glasgow, we would do a lot of stuff just online, sending stuff back and forward, because we've just found like if we were together, we wouldn't really be like working on music much. We just
we
play
just hang
PlayStation
out.
or something. So it's always kind of been better for us to work on ideas and stuff and send stuff back and forward a bit.
Like 60-70% of the track pretty much finished, and then send it over, see what you think, any changes, and then go from there, sort of thing. And finish it in that sort
so
of
even when I came to Berlin, it didn't really change the way we worked too much.
Yeah, we've done some different stuff when we did like albums though. Like when we did albums, our first album we booked a place out in the Highlands, and we spent the 2 weeks there working together. And then we feel like for an album it's a bit more special. You kind of have to have that kind of
coherency.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to go to a place for a kind of set period of time.
Yeah.
And write together.
So the second album we did that as well in Rotterdam. We spent the 2 weeks.
Both albums,
yeah.
Both albums we've written together, but most of the club stuff is like kind of a bit looser.
Yeah, I think 'cause we're quite quick workers as well. Like by the time you've got like, you maybe make something that's 70% done in one night. I mean, if you spend time waiting to like, what do you think about this snare drum? It's like, it's kind of productive, and you can get a lot of it done on your own before sending it over.
Yeah, when you've got a good idea, you don't want to kind of stop and send it to someone.
Yeah.
You just want to keep going. So that's kind of how we work.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's just that's kind of I guess like that's when we'll start sending stuff back and forward, and that can be something really simple like take that section out here and to give it some more impact.
Ideas as well, you maybe have an idea of like a hook, like a main hook, and then you kind of work maybe back the way, like you've got the main part of like the kind of most energetic part, and then kind of build an intro into that, so it builds up to this point. But like the first, I would sometimes do that anyway, like do my 8-bar loop, whatever, is like the most kind of dance floor
part of the track. So the final track is basically you just reducing the rest of the track into like intros and outros.
Yeah. And then like bridges.
The idea should be the best part of the track, I think.
Yeah. I would say that, yeah. It's not really so much a part of like a loop, like I don't know, a sort of percussive loop. It would be like the most like focal point of the track will be the bit that we work on first, and then figure
just
out
reduce
from there. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'd say like I overproduce. I don't think you do as much.
No.
I try and just
Callum stuff sounds a lot cleaner and well produced, I think, and polished.
Yeah.
And that's not because I don't care for that. I just can't do it as well.
It's just also I have a kind of, my studio sounds a bit better than yours, and I got really into like engineering, and then but then it's not in like a necessarily a good way. I'll do too much of the engineering and stuff, and kind of maybe often suck the life out of a track. But like
but I'll send stuff to you to be like, how does this sound? It's like, I know the idea is okay and it's decent enough, but then like when it comes to like, is it ready? Can you play it as a demo in a club? It's best that if Callum can check it out and be like, okay, maybe it could do some EQ in here or there that'll bring it to that level.
Yeah.
But
I think in terms of things like arranging or maybe like writing hooks, it's so often just like luck and like random. It's like neither of us is better or worse or anything. I think we just
pretty even.
We definitely we started making music together when we were like 14.
Yeah.
So we've always just come up kind of sharing ideas with each other.
And
like
listening
to the same kind of dance music. So it's like that's why we kind of can work together so well. It's just because we have the same almost like kind of music brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's almost like just one person making the tunes. The fact that our music has like maybe more of a drop, like you say, comes from the fact that when we were growing up, we were listening to stuff like Happy Hardcore and Makina, but also then we got into like kind of blog house or whatever you call it, like kind of before EDM became really big, kind of 2008, 2009, Justice and stuff like that, and that kind of sound, Boys Noise. It was all about big build-ups and drops, and that's kind of, we were about 16, 17, 18, and we were listening to a lot of that stuff, and it made a big impression on us, and we always have just kind of carried that through. Even when we started kind of getting more into techno.
Yeah, that and like the way what we were saying about earlier, like the way that the energy in the track, like if we're starting this project with that in mind, like with the 4-bar loop, whatever, with the most energy in it, like if you can work your way back from that and keep some energy going up to it, then the energy's already kind of there, and you're just kind of stripping back, but keeping like momentum going with it, so it's a bit easier than, as opposed to like build the energy from nothing if you've already started off with that block of like the most.
Because all the best stuff's going to happen when you start writing a track. So if you focus on like that part of the track, when you start writing, you focus on like the drop or whatever, then that's going to be the best part of the track, and then you build back from there.
That's always how I've
kind of written stuff. And then like a tip for kind of making stuff super like effective and energetic is just like make it a little bit obnoxious. Make it a little bit like almost kind of not annoying, but I mean it's not a bad word for it, but just a little bit kind of like a little bit too extreme.
Yeah, something that like maybe you wouldn't expect to hear. Do you know what I mean? Like, or just like sometimes taking. Everyone expects like the kick to come in at a certain point. If you can like get rid of the kick when it drops, or if you can like just do some sort of weird thing where like people aren't expecting it, and then it sounds like a mistake, but really it's designed to like make sure people are listening, because in a lot of techno music it's just the same sort of shit, and you can like keep on like you could sit for ages and not realize something's changed, but if you make sure people are listening and grab their attention,
try and like surprise people.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine you're in a club and what you could do to just surprise the crowd.
Yeah,
this is good advice.
Yeah
I think make it obnoxious. I think we've been getting more and more into sound design the past couple of years, because when we started making our own sample packs, it was when I think we first initially separated the kind of sound design process from the writing process, and we started to actually just kind of make sounds and loops and stuff just to kind of save and use later.
I think as well, going back to the question before that, when like to have something that no one's heard and to surprise someone, if you can make some sound in sound design that's like, what is that? If you can get that into a track, it's a lot easier than taking some other sound that's already been tried and tested, and it's going to be a bit more unique.
I wouldn't say there's sounds that we don't like to use, but you'll never hear our track really with like a kind of stock 909 or 808 hi-hat or snare or kick drum, because it's just kind of boring. Like, you've heard it 1,000 times. There's always going to be some kind of mangling going on, even if it started as a 909 or whatever. Like, we don't not use them, but we don't want anything that we're using to sound like something that you've heard before. As well, I think that the music we make isn't necessarily, it's good that people like it, but it's primarily for us. Like, and if I don't want to spend time listening to a 909 hat, I'd rather be interested while I'm making it, so we'll change it so that we're kept interested ourselves in the music. If we were just writing kind of basic techno stuff, I don't think we just get super bored of the writing process. Exactly. We've got to keep ourselves like entertained to actually finish the track.
Totally. For us, going back in time,
down a bit maybe. But then I don't think maybe we wouldn't be here if we had slowed down a bit. Because we released a lot of stuff early on that we're maybe not happy with now, but that's why we're here now. Like, so it's kind of hard to say. I think the fact that now we're doing our own sample packs and using our own sounds, before we didn't know as much as we do now, so we weren't making our own sample packs, so we're using the stock sounds, we're using the packs that everyone else has got access to, and so we didn't have a sound starting off. Whereas if you can start off now and you can really find your identity by making your own samples, then you might be more
recognised as one sort of singular sound.
I think also maybe just try and have more of a focus going forward. Obviously it's cool to like do lots of stuff and experiment and have kind of like very, very different releases as time goes on, but it can be difficult for people to follow your work if it just keeps chopping and changing. And something that can help with that is if you have like a very strong kind of identity in your sound. It can change, but then they'll still know that that's your kind of track. So yeah, just more of a focus in the line of work that you're doing, I think, is helpful. And outside of the sound as well, just a more of a focus in the kind of the identity, like who you are as a kind of artist. I've been using this thing called Infiltrator a lot, which is like a multi-effects kind of rhythm unit, and it's just wild. It's like kind of, you just go through the presets and it completely mangles everything. It's really good for sound design, by Devious Machines.
Guitar Rig as well.
Guitar Rig by Native Instruments.
Yeah, that gets used a lot just for like completely changing audio and then maybe coupling them up a few times and like just processing stuff through, and you just get infinite sort of like sound coming through.
I've been using this synthesizer called Thorn. It's called DS Thorn by like Dimitri Shez or something. It's really good for kind of like really weird sounding like trance stuff. Has some really, really interesting features, like this really sick harmonic filter on it. It's good, it's simple, like sounds really good. It's got a good arpeggiator.
Soundtoys, Echo Boy stuff.
Echo Boy.
All their stuff.
All the Soundtoy stuff's amazing. I think I use Echo Boy on everything. It's a delay, like just really, really sick delay. We don't use any hardware. We just stopped years ago.
We used to,
just like, I just feel like you can do so much more with digital synthesis.
Speed as well, I think that's like a big plus.
It's like, obviously it's cool to kind of like use your hands and stuff, but we're writing stuff to really kind of like push our sound forward, and hardware just doesn't really fit into that. It's like more fun sometimes, but we're not doing this for fun. We're doing this to try to make like sick tracks. Yeah, so I mean, it is mostly about making music for us, and when we DJ, we only play our own tracks. We only play Cloud's music, and the reason that we don't play live anymore is because we just feel it can be more fluid by just playing mastered audio, like our own tracks mastered in a DJ set. We can do like a 4-hour DJ set of all our own stuff, whereas doing a 4-hour live set is just going to kind of go all over the place. And
the way that we wrote music when we played live was still primarily in the box. So like when we played live, it was like a live jamming session, and so
it never really sounded like,
wasn't like us. And there was a lot of, it was like unplugging the studio, traveling with it, and sometimes with traveling with all your stuff, it's quite nerve-wracking and anxiety-inducing because we've lost a couple of times and then couldn't do gigs and that because
stuff
of it.
Is broken.
Yeah, and so the payoff for like the stress that it caused wasn't like worth it. So we then decided just to like, we can be more Clouds by just playing our own music that we make demos throughout the week, and then we can have like just loops, and we can like do just tracks that are just tools.
Yeah, it drives us to like write more music because we're just writing stuff to play that weekend.
Yeah,
you just sit and like write a track, and it's like, it doesn't need to be on a label, or it doesn't need to be anything. It's like, I'm going to play this at the weekend as like a cool little track, and it's kind of like, then it might turn out really sick, it might not. It's quite a liberating way of writing music.
It's a good way of like seeing what stuff's worth continuing working on. If you make a loop or like a tool sort of track and the crowd reacts to it well, you're like, okay, I can actually go home in the next couple of weeks, I'll work on this one, bring it to a different level, and then it'll be worth.
We just found like when we were DJing, the amount of time it took us to kind of find tracks that we actually wanted to play. It was easier to just write our own stuff.
It sounds really pretentious.
Hopefully it's true.
Yeah, we had to make our own music.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Good enough.
Yeah, but yeah, at 50-50 though, I think, because I do enjoy like going traveling and playing our music out live, because like I wouldn't want to just sit and make.
I've only realized how like important that was.
Oh, since losing it.
Pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when we were before, I was kind of like, oh, I don't think I need to DJ as much, but now it's because it's so much of also just a part about meeting other people and kind of playing with like friends and stuff, and like I don't think you realize how much those connections mean to you until it's like all of a sudden gone.
Yeah.
So we do love DJing, but yeah, we're definitely primarily like musicians, producers.
Because that's how we started off. We were younger, like we were like 14, and we had like cracked software and making music, and then we kind of had to like learn it. We got booked but we couldn't DJ. We had to like learn how to DJ just so we do it this booking.
Yeah. And
so we came from it wasn't like DJ and then I'll make my own music. We came from production to DJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, 50-50.